The space station called Harmony's Edge floated quietly in the darkness between two star systems. It was built for one purpose: to be a meeting place where different alien races could talk without fighting. Today, it hosted the most important meeting in human history. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the long corridors of the station. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Behind him walked Dr. Lisa Carter, a woman who could speak many alien languages. Next to her was Commander Ryan Blake, a soldier who had fought in many battles. They were here to make peace with the Zephyrians. The Zephyrians were tall, scary aliens who loved to fight. They had conquered many worlds across the galaxy. Their skin looked like armor, and they had 4 arms instead of 2. Most aliens were afraid of them. Jake stopped in front of a large door. Behind it was the meeting room where they would try to make peace. He looked at his team. Lisa seemed nervous but ready. Ryan kept his hand near his weapon, even though weapons were not allowed in the meeting. "Remember," Jake said quietly, "we are here to make peace. The Zephyrians think we are weak. We need to show them they are wrong, but we need to be smart about it." Lisa nodded. She had studied Zephyrian culture for years. She knew their language and their customs. But she also knew they did not respect humans. To them, humans were just another weak race to be conquered. The door opened with a soft sound. Inside, the meeting room was large and round. On one side sat the human team. On the other side sat the Zephyrians. The Zephyrian leader was General Vexitar. He was huge, even for a Zephyrian. His armor-like skin was dark red, and his forearms were thick with muscle. Scars covered his face from many battles. His eyes were black and cold. He had been fighting wars for over 200 years and had never lost a single battle. General Vexitar looked at the humans like they were insects. He did not stand up when they entered. In Zephyrian culture, this was a big insult. It meant he thought the humans were not worth respect. Jake sat down across from the general. Lisa sat next to him and Ryan sat on his other side. Between them was a large table with maps and documents. "General Vexitar," Jake said, "we are here to discuss peace between our peoples. Humans and Zephyrians do not need to be enemies." The general made a sound like a growl. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough. "Humans are weak. Your ships are small. Your weapons are pathetic. Why should the mighty Zephyrian Empire make peace with insects?" Lisa leaned forward. She had practiced this moment many times. In careful Zephyrian language, she said, "Great General, we come seeking wisdom from one whose strength comes from the deepest roots." She thought she was being respectful. In human culture, saying someone's strength came from deep roots meant they were wise and powerful. But in Zephyrian culture, it meant something very different. It meant his ancestors were weak and buried deep in the ground like cowards. General Vexitar's eyes went wide. His 4 hands clenched into fists. The other Zephyrians in the room gasped. Lisa had just insulted the general's family honor in the worst possible way. "What did you say?" The general roared, standing up. He was so tall his head almost touched the ceiling. Lisa realized something was wrong. She looked confused and scared. I was trying to show respect, General. I meant no offense. You dare question my bloodline?" General Vexitar's voice shook with anger. "You call my ancestors cowards? No human speaks to me this way." Jake stood up quickly. "General, please. Dr. Carter made a mistake with the language. She did not mean to insult you. But it was too late. In Zephyrian culture, an insult to family honor could only be answered one way." General Vexitar raised his primary arm, the strongest of his 4 arms, and struck Lisa across the face. The hit was so hard it lifted Lisa off her feet. She flew backward and crashed into the table behind her. Documents scattered everywhere. Blood ran from her nose and mouth. She did not move. The room went completely silent. Jake rushed to Lisa's side. She was breathing, but her eyes were closed. Ryan's hand moved toward his weapon, but Jake gave him a sharp look that meant no. General Vexitar stood over them, breathing hard. He showed no shame or regret. The human got what she deserved. In our culture, insults have consequences. Jake helped Lisa sit up. She was awake now, but confused and hurt. Her face was already swelling from the hit. Jake looked up at the general with anger in his eyes. "You just attacked a diplomat during peace talks," Jake said, his voice cold and controlled. "This is against every law of civilized space." General Vexitar laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Civilized? You humans know nothing of civilization. You are soft and weak. This is how Zephyrians deal with disrespect." The other Zephyrians in the room nodded in agreement. They thought their general had done the right thing. To them, the human female had insulted their leader, and she had been punished. That was justice. Jake helped Lisa stand up. She was shaking and could barely walk. Ryan moved to help support her other side. The three humans began walking toward the door. "Where are you going?" General Vextar called after them. "We have not finished our talks." Jake stopped and turned around. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with cold anger. "The talks are over, General. You have made your choice." "What choice?" the general asked, confused. "You chose to show us what Zephyrian honor really means," Jake replied. "Now you will learn what human justice looks like." With that, the three humans left the room. General Vextar watched them go with amusement. He thought he had won. He thought he had shown the weak humans their place in the galaxy. As the humans walked back to their ship, Lisa leaned heavily on Jake and Ryan. Her face hurt terribly, but that was not the worst part. The worst part was the fear and humiliation she felt. She had tried to make peace, and instead she had been attacked like an animal. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Jake's jaw was tight with anger. "Now the general learns that humans do not forgive, and we do not forget." Behind them, General Vextar was already planning his next conquest. He had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake of his long, violent life. He had no idea that striking one human diplomat would cost him everything he had ever known. The peace talks were over. But the war that was coming would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The news spread through human space like wildfire. Within hours, every human colony, every space station, every ship knew what had happened. The video from the security cameras showed everything. General Vextar striking Dr. Lisa Carter, her body flying through the air, the blood on her face, the cruel laughter of the Zephyrians. On Earth, people watched the video with growing anger. On Mars, workers stopped their jobs to stare at their screens in shock. On the mining stations near Jupiter, tough miners who had seen everything clenched their fists in rage. A diplomat had been attacked during peace talks. This was not just an attack on Lisa Carter. This was an attack on all humanity. Dr. Carter was taken to the medical bay on Harmony's Edge station. The doctors said her injuries were not life-threatening, but they were serious. Her nose was broken. 3 of her teeth were loose. Her jaw was badly bruised, but the worst damage was not to her body. Lisa sat in her hospital bed staring at the wall. She did not want to talk to anyone. She did not want to eat. When she closed her eyes, she saw General Vextar's angry face. She felt his massive hand hitting her again and again. She had nightmares where Zephyrians chased her through dark corridors. Jake Morrison sat beside her bed. He had not left the medical bay since the attack. "Lisa," he said gently, "the doctors say you can go home soon. He'll be safe on Earth." Lisa turned to look at him. Her face was purple and swollen. "Safe?" she whispered. "Jake, he could have killed me. He hit me like I was nothing, like I was an insect to be crushed." "I know," Jake said. His hands were clenched into fists. "But this is not over. The general will pay for what he did." On Earth, President Helen Martinez called an emergency meeting. The most important people in human government gathered in the war room deep under the Capitol building. The room was filled with screens showing star maps, ship positions, and military data. Admiral Scott Thompson stood at the main screen. He was an old soldier with gray hair and scars on his hands from his fighting days. He pointed at the Zephyrian territory on the map. "Madam President," he said, "we have to act fast. The Zephyrians think we are weak. If we do nothing, every alien race in the galaxy will think they can attack our people without consequences." President Martinez was a small woman with sharp eyes. She had led humanity through many crises, but this was different. This was personal. "What are our options, Admiral?" "We can mobilize the defense fleet," Admiral Thompson replied. "Hit their border systems hard and fast. Show them that humans are not as weak as they think." General Patricia Hayes, the head of military intelligence, shook her head. "That would start a full war, Admiral. The Zephyrians have more ships than us, more soldiers. They have been fighting for centuries. A direct war might destroy us. Then what do you suggest?" The Admiral asked angrily. "That we do nothing? That we let them think they can hit our people whenever they want?" Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system. He was still on Harmony's Edge station with Dr. Carter. "There is another way," he said. Everyone in the room turned to look at the screen showing Jake's face. "What do you mean, Captain?" President Martinez asked. "We give them a chance to do the right thing," Jake said. We demand that General Vextar come to Earth. He must apologize to Dr. Carter in person. He must submit to human justice for assault. We give them 72 hours to agree. Admiral Thompson laughed harshly. They will never agree to that, Captain. Zephyrians do not apologize to anyone, and they certainly do not submit to alien justice. Then we will know where they stand, Jake replied, and we can act accordingly. President Martinez thought for a long moment. Around the table, her advisors waited. Finally, she nodded. We try diplomacy first. Admiral Thompson, prepare the defense fleet, but do not move them yet. General Hayes, activate all our intelligence networks. I want to know everything about Zephyrian military positions. And if they refuse our demands? Admiral Thompson asked. The president's eyes grew cold. Then we show them what happens when you attack a human diplomat. The message was sent to the Zephyrian Empire within the hour. It was formal and clear. General Vextar had 72 hours to surrender himself for justice or face the consequences. On the Zephyrian homeworld of Zephyr Prime, Emperor Caxthul read the human message in his throne room. The Emperor was even larger than General Vextar, with golden armor-like skin instead of red. He had ruled the Empire for over 300 years. Around him stood his military commanders. General Vextar stood proudly among them, showing no shame for what he had done. Emperor Caxthul crumpled the message and threw it on the floor. Humans dare to make demands of us, he roared. They want our greatest general to bow before them like a defeated slave? The humans are insects, my emperor, General Vextar said. They have small ships and weak weapons. They are trying to seem strong, but they are afraid. Let them come. We will crush them like we have crushed all our enemies. The other Zephyrian commanders agreed loudly. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had defeated armies much larger than anything humanity could field. The idea that humans could threaten them seemed like a joke. Send our reply, Emperor Caxthul commanded. Tell the humans that we do not bow to insects. Tell them that if they want war, they can have it. Begin mobilizing the war fleets. But the humans were already moving. In secret bases throughout human space, ships that had never been seen before began to power up. These were not the normal defense ships that other aliens knew about. These were something new, something secret. Admiral Thompson stood in the command center of the ship called Retribution. It was the largest ship humans had ever built, but it looked different from normal human ships. Its hull was covered in strange metal that seemed to shift and change in the light. Its weapons were hidden behind panels that could open in seconds. Admiral, said Captain Alex Foster, the ship's commander, all ships are ready. Protocol 7 is activated. Admiral Thompson nodded grimly. Protocol 7 was humanity's most secret military program. For years, human scientists had been working on new technologies that other alien races had never seen or imagined. Today they would find out if those technologies worked. Time until the deadline? Admiral Thompson asked. 6 hours, sir, Captain Foster replied. On Harmony's Edge station, Dr. Carter was finally able to sit up without help. Jake sat beside her, holding her hand. She looked at him with eyes full of pain and fear. What if they come after me again? She asked. What if they decide that one human diplomat is not enough? Jake squeezed her hand gently. Lisa, I promise you something. General Vextar will never hurt you again. He will never hurt any human again. How can you be so sure? She whispered. Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were moving into position. Somewhere out there, weapons that could change the balance of power in the galaxy were being prepared. Because, Jake said quietly, he does not know what humans are really capable of. None of them do. They think we are weak because our ships are smaller. They think we are cowards because we prefer peace to war. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The 72 hours passed. The Zephyrians sent no apology. They sent no promise of justice. Instead, they sent war fleets toward human space. In the command center on Earth, President Martinez stood before a room full of military officers. On the screens around them, they could see Zephyrian ships moving toward the border. Ladies and gentlemen, the president said, the Zephyrians have made their choice. They have chosen war over justice. They have chosen pride over peace. Now they will learn the price of that choice. She turned to Admiral Thompson. Admiral, you have permission to engage the enemy. Show them what humans do to those who attack our people. Admiral Thompson saluted. Yes, Madam President. Operation Justice begins now. Across human space, the hidden fleets began to move. Ships that had been kept secret for years emerged from hidden bases. Weapons that existed only in classified files were loaded and armed. General Vexitar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crimson Talon. He looked out at his massive fleet with pride. Over 500 ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything humans had ever built. Or so he thought. "General," his communications officer said, "we are detecting human ships approaching." "How many?" General Vexitar asked. "Only about 50 ships, sir. Much smaller than our fleet." General Vexitar laughed. 50 ships? That is all? The humans are even weaker than I thought. Prepare for battle. We will destroy them quickly and then move on to conquer their worlds. But as the human ships came closer, something strange happened. The Zephyrian sensors could not get clear readings on them. The ships seemed to flicker and change as if they were not entirely real. "What is wrong with our sensors?" General Vexitar demanded. "I do not know, sir," his sensor officer replied, fear creeping into his voice. "The human ships are different." General Vexitar stared at the approaching human fleet. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never felt before in battle. He felt doubt. The battle began at exactly 1430 Galactic Standard Time in the Kepler 442 system. General Vexitar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human ships approach. He had fought in over 1,000 battles, but something felt wrong about this one. "Fire all weapons," he commanded. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with everything they had. Massive energy beams and explosive missiles flew toward the human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But something impossible happened. Most of the attacks passed right through the human ships as if they were not there. "What is happening?" General Vexitar roared. "Why are our weapons not hitting them?" His weapons officer stared at his controls in confusion. "Sir, our targeting systems show direct hits, but the human ships are undamaged. It is like they are ghosts." On the human flagship Retribution, Captain Alex Foster smiled grimly. "Phase shields holding steady, Admiral. Their weapons cannot touch us while we are partially shifted out of normal space." Admiral Thompson nodded. "Excellent, Captain. Begin Phase 2 of the attack." The human ship stopped flickering and became solid again. But instead of firing back with normal weapons, they did something the Zephyrians had never seen before. Thousands of tiny objects, smaller than dust particles, began streaming out of the human ships. "What are those?" General Vexitar demanded. "Sensors show they are extremely small, sir," his science officer reported. "Each one is smaller than a grain of sand." "There are millions of them heading toward our ships," General Vexitar laughed. "Sand? The humans are throwing sand at us? Have they gone insane?" But the tiny objects were not sand. They were nanobots, microscopic robots that could think and learn. They were so small that the Zephyrian shields, designed to stop large weapons, let them pass through without noticing. The nanobots reached the first Zephyrian ship and immediately went to work. They found tiny cracks in the hull and slipped inside. Once inside, they began exploring every part of the ship. They mapped the power systems, the weapons, the life support, the engines. They learned how everything worked, but they did not destroy anything. Not yet. Captain Beth Williams commanded one of the human attack ships, the Striker. She watched her screens as the nanobots sent back information. "Amazing," she said to her crew. "We are getting complete blueprints of their technology in real time." The nanobots were not just mapping the ships. They were learning about the Zephyrians themselves. They studied their biology, their brain patterns, their genetic structure. Information that had taken human scientists years to gather was being collected in minutes. General Vexitar began to feel afraid, though he did not understand why. His ships were not being damaged, but something was very wrong. "Status report," he demanded. "All ships report normal function, sir," his communications officer said. "But our sensor readings are acting strangely. We are detecting unknown energy patterns throughout the fleet." On the Retribution, Admiral Thompson watched the data streaming in from the nanobots. "Fascinating," he said. "Their ships are more advanced than we expected, but they have critical weaknesses. Their shield generators are not protected against quantum fluctuations." "Should we proceed to Phase 3, sir?" Captain Foster asked. "Yes," Admiral Thompson replied. "Show them what human engineering can really do." The human ships began firing, but not with normal weapons. They fired torpedoes that seemed to exist and not exist at the same time. The torpedoes used quantum tunneling technology. They could pass through solid matter as if it was not there. The Zephyrian shields were useless. The quantum torpedoes passed right through them and hit the shield generators directly. One by one, Zephyrian ships found their shields failing. "Impossible!" General Vextar shouted. "Our shields are the best in the galaxy. How are they getting through?" But worse was yet to come. Once the shields were down, the nanobots inside the ships received new orders. They began to take control of critical systems, not to destroy them, but to control them. The first Zephyrian ship to lose control was the destroyer Red, Death. Its crew watched in horror as their own ship began turning its weapons on other Zephyrian vessels. "We have lost control of our weapon systems," the ship's captain screamed over the communications. "The ship is firing on its own." General Vextar watched as ship after ship in his fleet began turning against each other. The nanobots had taken control of their weapon systems and were forcing them to attack their own allies. "This is not possible," he whispered. "No technology can do this." Captain Morgan Davis, commanding the human ship Thunder, spoke into his communicator. "All ships begin Phase 4. Target their engines." Now the human ships began firing conventional weapons, but with perfect accuracy. The nanobots had mapped every critical system on every Zephyrian ship. The humans knew exactly where to hit to disable engines without destroying the ships or killing the crew. One by one, the massive Zephyrian warships found themselves dead in space. Their engines failed. Their weapons stopped working. Their life support systems were reduced to minimum power. But they were all still alive. General Vextar's flagship was the last to be disabled. He stood on his bridge, surrounded by failing systems and panicking crew members. For the first time in over 200 years of warfare, his fleet had been completely defeated. But they had not been destroyed. Every ship was intact. Every crew member was alive. They had simply been captured. A voice came over the communication system. It was Admiral Thompson speaking from the Retribution. "General Vextar," the Admiral said calmly. "This is Admiral Thompson of the Human Defense Fleet. Your fleet has been defeated and captured. You and your crews are now prisoners of war." General Vextar could not believe what he was hearing. "Captured? You have not captured us. We are still on our own ships." "Your ships are no longer under your control," Admiral Thompson replied. "Our nanobots have taken command of all critical systems. You cannot move, you cannot fight, and you cannot escape. That is the definition of captured." The general looked around his bridge. Everything seemed normal, but when he tried to give orders to his crew, nothing happened. The ship's computer would not respond to his commands. The weapons were offline. The engines were dead. "How?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "You asked us what human justice looks like," Admiral Thompson said. "This is the beginning. You will all be taken to a human facility where you will face trial for your crimes. But first you will learn something about human technology that no alien has ever learned before." Captain Rebecca Lopez, commanding the human ship Vengeance, began the recovery operation. Large human ships approached each disabled Zephyrian vessel. Mechanical arms reached out and grabbed them, pulling them into cargo bays. The mighty Zephyrian fleet, which had never known defeat, was being collected like broken toys. General Vextar stood on his bridge in shock. Around him, his crew members sat at their stations, unable to do anything. They were prisoners on their own ship. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "incoming message from the Emperor." Emperor Caxthul's face appeared on the main screen. His golden skin was dark with rage. "General, what is your status? Our sensors show your fleet has stopped moving." General Vextar could not meet his Emperor's eyes. "My lord," he said, his voice breaking, "we have been defeated. The humans, they have weapons we do not understand, technology that should not exist." "Defeated?" the Emperor roared. "You have 500 ships. The humans only have 50. "Numbers do not matter," General Vextar replied. "They passed through our shields like they were made of air. They took control of our ships with tiny machines we could not see." "My lord, we were not fighting ships. We were fighting magic." Emperor Caxthul's face showed disbelief, then fear. "This is impossible. No race has technology that advanced. The humans are primitive." "No, my lord," General Vextar said, finally understanding the truth. "We are the primitive ones. We have been conquering races that fight with swords while the humans have been building weapons that can change reality itself." The communication ended. Emperor Caxthul sat alone in his throne room, staring at the blank screen. His greatest general, commanding his mightiest fleet, had been defeated without killing a single human. On the Retribution, Admiral Thompson turned to Captain Foster. "Begin transit to the research facility. Our scientists are eager to begin their work." "Yes, sir," Captain Foster replied. "What about the other Zephyrian fleets?" "They will not attack us again," Admiral Thompson said with certainty. "Not after they hear what happened here. Word will spread throughout their empire. The humans who they thought were weak insects have just captured their entire border fleet without losing a single ship." Captain Foster nodded. "And General Vextar, sir? What happens to him?" Admiral Thompson looked out at the captured Zephyrian ships being towed by human vessels. "He wanted to know what human justice looks like, Captain. He is about to find out, and when we are done with him, he will wish he had never heard of the human race." The journey to the human research facility would take 3 days. 3 days for General Vextar to think about what he had done. 3 days to wonder what the humans planned for him. 3 days to realize that striking Dr. Lisa Carter had been the worst mistake of his very long life. Behind them, the empty space where the battle had taken place showed. The human research facility called New Geneva floated in orbit around Earth's moon. From the outside, it looked like a normal space station, but inside, it contained the most advanced scientific equipment in human space. This was where humanity's greatest minds worked on projects that could change the galaxy. General Vextar and his captured crews were brought to New Geneva 3 days after their defeat. The general had spent those 3 days in shock, unable to understand how his mighty fleet had been defeated so easily. Now, as he was escorted through the corridors of the station, he felt something he had never experienced before: true fear. The human guards were polite but firm. They did not hurt the prisoners or insult them. They simply guided them to processing areas where each Zephyrian was examined by human doctors and scientists. Dr. Patricia Williams was the head of the xenobiology department at New Geneva. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but General Vextar sensed there was steel beneath her gentle appearance. She examined him personally in a clean white medical room. "Please remove your armor, General," Dr. Williams said politely. General Vextar glared at her. "I am a prisoner of war. You cannot force me to submit to experiments." "This is not an experiment," Dr. Williams replied calmly. "This is a medical examination. We need to make sure you are healthy. We are not barbarians, General. We do not harm our prisoners." Slowly, reluctantly, General Vextar removed his ceremonial armor. Underneath, his skin was the same dark red color, but covered with scars from hundreds of battles. Dr. Williams examined him with strange human devices that scanned his entire body. "Fascinating," she said, looking at the readings. "Your biology is more complex than we expected. Your aggressive behavior is not just cultural. It is partially controlled by your genetic structure." "What does that mean?" General Vextar asked. Dr. Williams looked at him with something that might have been pity. "It means, General, that your people are not evil by choice. Your DNA makes you aggressive. Your genes make you love violence. In a way, you are prisoners of your own biology." General Vextar did not understand. "We are warriors. We are proud of our strength. We are proud of our conquests." "I know," Dr. Williams said sadly. "And that is the tragedy. You cannot help being what you are, but we can help you become something better." Over the following days, General Vextar and his crews were kept in comfortable quarters. They were fed good food and given medical care, but they were not allowed to leave or communicate with their empire. They could only wait and wonder what the humans planned for them. Some of the younger Zephyrian soldiers began talking to their human guards. They learned that humans did not enjoy war like Zephyrians did. Humans preferred to build things rather than destroy them. They preferred peace to conquest. "Why do you not kill us?" asked Sub-Commander Kreltos, one of General Vextar's officers. "In our culture, prisoners are either killed or enslaved. But you treat us well. Why?" The human guard, Sergeant Kevin Clark, thought for a moment. "Because we are not like you," he said. "We do not enjoy causing pain. We do not celebrate violence. We fight when we have to, but we do not love it." "Then why did you defeat us so easily?" Kreltos asked. "If you do not love war, how are you so good at it?" Sergeant Clark smiled sadly. "Because we are good at solving problems. War is just another problem to solve. We approach it like scientists, not like warriors. We study our enemies, learn their weaknesses, and find the most efficient way to win." "Efficient," Kreltos repeated. You speak of war like it is mathematics. For us it is, Clark replied. We do not fight for glory or honor. We fight to protect our people and end the conflict as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, in the deepest levels of New Geneva, human scientists were studying the nanobots that had infiltrated the Zephyrian ships. The tiny machines had gathered incredible amounts of information about Zephyrian biology and technology. Dr. Robert Singh, the chief geneticist, called Dr. Williams to his laboratory. Patricia, he said excitedly, you need to see this. The nanobots have mapped the entire Zephyrian genetic structure. Look at this. On his screen was a complex diagram showing Zephyrian DNA. Certain sections were highlighted in red. These genetic sequences control aggression, territorial behavior, and the desire for dominance, Dr. Singh explained. If we modify these sequences, we can eliminate their aggressive tendencies entirely. Dr. Williams stared at the screen in amazement. You mean we can make them peaceful? More than peaceful, Dr. Singh replied. We can make them empathetic. We can give them the ability to feel genuine compassion for others. They would keep their intelligence, their memories, their personalities. But they would lose their desire to hurt and dominate. How long would the procedure take? Dr. Williams asked. With our current technology, about 6 hours per individual, the changes would be permanent and would pass to their children. Within 1 generation, the entire Zephyrian race could be transformed. Dr. Williams felt a chill run down her spine. The power to change an entire species at the genetic level was frightening, even if the goal was to make them peaceful. We need to test this carefully, she said. Start with volunteers only. The first volunteers were 3 young Zephyrian soldiers who had been injured during the battle. They agreed to the procedure in exchange for better medical treatment. The operation was performed in a sterile surgical suite, with the Zephyrians unconscious during the entire process. When they woke up, they seemed normal at first. But over the following days, changes became apparent. The soldiers stopped talking about conquest and glory. They began asking about the humans they had fought against, wondering if any had been hurt in the battle. One of them, a young warrior named Dexmar, began crying when he saw video footage of the battle. We could have killed them, he said in horror. We were trying to kill innocent people who were just defending themselves. How could I have wanted to do that? General Vextar was brought to observe the transformed soldiers. He watched in shock as Dexmar spoke about peace and understanding instead of war and conquest. What have you done to them? The general demanded. Dr. Williams sat across from him in the observation room. We have freed them, General. We have removed the genetic programming that forced them to be aggressive. Now they can choose for themselves whether to be violent or peaceful. You have destroyed them, General Vextar roared. They are no longer Zephyrian. You have turned warriors into weaklings, have we? Dr. Williams asked calmly. They are still intelligent. They are still strong. They still remember their training and their skills. But now they can feel empathy for others. Now they understand that causing pain is wrong. Is that really destroying them, or is it making them better? General Vextar stared at his transformed soldiers through the observation window. They were talking quietly among themselves, discussing how they could help repair the damage from the war. They looked happy in a way he had never seen Zephyrians look before. This is not natural, he said, but his voice was less certain than before. Neither is genetic programming for violence, Dr. Williams replied. Your species was created or evolved to be aggressive. We are simply offering a different path. What do you plan to do with the rest of us? General Vextar asked. Dr. Williams looked at him for a long moment. That depends on you, General. We could release you and your crews back to your empire unchanged, but then you would return to your old ways. You would attack more innocent people. You would cause more suffering. So you will change us all against our will? No, Dr. Williams said. We will give each of you a choice. You can undergo the procedure voluntarily and be released as peaceful beings, or you can remain as you are and spend the rest of your lives in comfortable imprisonment. General Vextar felt a chill of fear. And if we choose imprisonment? Then you will live out your days here well treated but never free. Your empire will never see you again. Your people will never know what happened to you. You will simply disappear. The general understood the true horror of his situation. The humans were not offering him death or torture. They were offering him something much worse, the complete erasure of everything he was. There is a third option, Dr. Williams continued. You could return to your empire and tell them what you have learned. Tell them that humanity offers peace to those who want it. but total transformation to those who choose war. They would never believe me, General Vextar said. Then bring proof, Dr. Williams replied. Take some of your transformed soldiers with you. Let your empire see what humans can do. Let them choose their own future. General Vextar sat in silence for a long time. Around him, the humans continued their work. Always polite, always professional, never cruel. But he understood that beneath their gentle behavior lay a power that could reshape the galaxy. You are asking me to destroy my own people, he said finally. No, Dr. Williams corrected. We are asking you to save them. Your people have been slaves to their own genetics for thousands of years. We are offering them freedom from that slavery, freedom to choose who they want to be. The general looked through the window at his transformed soldiers again. They were laughing now, sharing stories with their human guards. They seemed genuinely happy. For the first time in his long life, General Vextar began to wonder if word of what happened to General Vextar's fleet spread throughout the galaxy like a disease. At first, many alien races did not believe the reports. The mighty Zephyrian Empire defeated by humans? Impossible. But as more details emerged, fear began to replace disbelief. The humans had not just won a battle. They had captured an entire fleet without destroying a single ship. They had taken prisoners without killing anyone. Most terrifying of all, they had the power to change other species at the genetic level. The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting on the neutral world of Sanctuary Prime. Representatives from dozens of alien races gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, all talking in whispers about the human threat. Ambassador Velthara of the Crystalline Confederation spoke first. Her species looked like walking crystals that reflected light in beautiful patterns. We have all heard the reports, she said, her voice like singing bells. The humans have technology that can alter the fundamental nature of living beings. This makes them more dangerous than any military force we have ever encountered. Perhaps we should negotiate with them, suggested Ambassador Gorth of the Peaceful Traders Union. His species looked like large, furry bears with 6 arms. If they can change aggressive species into peaceful ones, maybe they would be willing to help us with our own conflicts. Or maybe they will decide that all of us need to be improved, said General Zextar of the warrior clans. He was a Zephyrian, but from a different family than Vextar. How do we know they will stop with making Zephyrians peaceful? What if they decide that all warrior species need to be changed? The debate went on for hours, but no agreement was reached. Some species wanted to form an alliance against humanity. Others wanted to negotiate. A few wanted to surrender immediately before the humans decided they needed changing too. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Emperor Caxthul sat on his golden throne, staring at reports from his spies and scouts. Every piece of information confirmed the same terrible truth. His greatest general and finest fleet had simply vanished. The humans claimed to have captured them, but there was no proof of life. My lord, said his chief advisor, an ancient Zephyrian named Morthek, we must consider the possibility that General Vextar and his entire fleet are dead. No, Emperor Caxthul said firmly. If the humans had killed them, they would have sent us bodies as a warning. If they had destroyed the ships, we would have found debris. There would be some trace. The fact that there is nothing means they are still alive. Then where are they, my lord? Emperor Caxthul stood up from his throne. He was massive even for a Zephyrian, with golden armor-like skin that had never known defeat. There is only one way to find out, he said. I will go to the humans myself. His advisors were shocked. My lord, you cannot. If the humans have truly captured General Vextar, they might capture you as well. Then I will challenge their leader to single combat, the Emperor declared. According to the ancient laws of our people, they must accept. If I win, they will return our people and leave us alone. If I lose... He paused, not wanting to think about that possibility. The Emperor's challenge was sent to Earth within hours. President Helen Martinez received it in her office while meeting with her military advisors. Admiral Thompson read the message aloud. Emperor Caxthul of the Zephyrian Empire challenges the leader of humanity to single combat for the return of General Vextar and his fleet, the admiral read. The combat will be according to ancient Zephyrian law, with the winner taking all. President Martinez smiled coldly. How interesting. The Emperor wants to solve this with violence just like his general did. Will you accept, Madam President? Asked General Hayes. Oh yes, President Martinez replied. but not the way he expects. Send a message to the Emperor. Tell him I accept his challenge, but I choose my champion according to human law, and my champion will be Dr. Lisa Carter. The room fell silent. Admiral Thompson was the first to speak. Madam President, with respect, Dr. Carter is not a fighter. The Emperor is a warrior who has never lost a battle. Exactly, President Martinez said, and that is why she is the perfect choice. The Emperor will learn the same lesson his general learned, that humans do not solve problems the way other species expect. On New Geneva Station, Dr. Carter was still recovering from her injuries, both physical and emotional. When President Martinez told her about the challenge, Lisa was terrified. I cannot fight an alien emperor, she said, her hands shaking. I am a linguist, not a warrior. He will kill me. Lisa, President Martinez said gently, you will not be fighting him with weapons. You will be fighting him with something much more powerful. The meeting was arranged to take place on Harmony's Edge Station, the same place where the peace talks had failed. Emperor Caxthul arrived with a small escort, confident that he would easily defeat any human in combat. The Emperor was even more impressive in person than in the video messages. He stood nearly 9 feet tall with golden skin that seemed to glow with inner light. His forearms were massive with muscle, and his eyes held the cold confidence of someone who had never known defeat. Dr. Carter stood across from him in the same meeting room where she had been attacked. She looked small and fragile compared to the massive alien emperor, but she was not afraid anymore. She understood what the humans planned to do. You are my opponent? Emperor Caxthul asked in disbelief. You are the injured female from before. This is insulting. I demand to fight a real warrior. I am Dr. Lisa Carter, she replied calmly, and I am the champion chosen by humanity. The Emperor laughed harshly. Then this will be over quickly. I will try to kill you cleanly, out of respect for your courage. Your Imperial Majesty, Dr. Carter said, the combat has already begun, but this is not the kind of fight you are expecting. Before the Emperor could ask what she meant, the room's lights dimmed. Advanced human technology activated all around them. Holographic projectors created a three-dimensional display that surrounded both combatants. What is this? Emperor Caxthul demanded. This is how humans fight, Dr. Carter replied. Not with muscles or weapons, but with knowledge and understanding. The holographic display began showing images from the Emperor's own life. His childhood on Zephyr Prime, his first battles, his rise to power. But the images were different from how he remembered them. They showed the suffering his conquests had caused. The families destroyed, the worlds burned, the innocent people killed. Stop this, the Emperor roared, but he could not look away. Do you see them? Dr. Carter asked softly. All the people who died because of your wars? All the children who lost their parents? All the worlds that will never recover? The images shifted to show the transformed Zephyrian soldiers from New Geneva. Dexmar and his companions, now peaceful and happy, working alongside human scientists to develop ways to help rebuild the worlds they had once attacked. This is what your people could become, Dr. Carter continued. Not weak, not defeated, but free from the genetic programming that forces them to cause pain. Emperor Caxthul fell to his knees, overwhelmed by emotions he had never felt before. The human technology was not just showing him images, it was temporarily altering his brain chemistry, allowing him to experience genuine empathy for the first time in his life. I can feel their pain, he whispered. All the people I have hurt. How did I never see this before? Because your genetics would not let you, Dr. Carter said gently. But now you can choose. You can return to your empire unchanged and continue the cycle of violence. Or you can accept our help and become something better. Tears ran down the Emperor's golden face, something that had never happened before in his 300 years of life. My people, he said. What will happen to my people? They will be given the same choice you are being given now, Dr. Carter replied. Those who choose peace will be helped to change. Those who choose violence will be stopped before they can hurt anyone else. Emperor Caxthul looked up at her with eyes full of wonder and confusion. You could have killed me. You could have destroyed our entire empire. Instead, you offer to make us better. Why? Dr. Carter knelt down beside the massive alien ruler. Because that is what humans do. We solve problems. War is a problem. Genetic programming for violence is a problem. We fix problems, we do not just destroy them. But my empire has conquered so many worlds. We have caused so much suffering. Then help us heal that suffering, Dr. Carter said. Use your authority to convince your people to accept the treatment voluntarily. Help us turn the Zephyrian Empire from a force of destruction into a force for rebuilding and healing. The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Around them, the holographic images continued to show the possibilities. Zephyrians working alongside other species to build instead of destroy, to heal instead of harm, to create instead of conquer. Finally, Emperor Caxthul stood up. He was still massive and imposing, but there was something different in his eyes now. Something that had never been there before, compassion. I surrender, he said formally. I submit to human justice and accept your offer of transformation. Dr. Carter smiled. Your Imperial Majesty, you have just won the greatest victory of your life. You have defeated the genes that made you a prisoner of your own violence. 6 months later, General Vextar stood in the same meeting room on